If I were to fight Pippin Took, I would absolutely destroy him without a question. And that's why I put him in the I obliterate them tier, because he does not have a chance. That's right, boys. Today, we're going to be ranking every single Lord of the Rings character that I believe I could beat in a fight. As I previously mentioned when it came to Peregrine Took, I obliterate them is this tier right here, meaning very obviously I obliterate them. There is nothing less for their families to collect and mourn over. They are gone. Next up is light work, no reaction, meaning I do beat them, but it's a little bit more of a challenge. I'm breathing a little hard after, you know how it is. After that is I barely win, meaning, well, you get the picture. I barely squeeze out a victory. And then up after that, we go to their side. They barely win, meaning they barely squeeze out a victory from me. Up next after that is they clobber me, meaning they fight me, they win, but it's not as easy as it could be. You know, I put up a fight, is what I'm saying. And finally, I am turned into a fine pulp, meaning they stomp me into the ground and smear me all over. There's nothing left of me for my family to pick up. Now, with all that being said, I can very safely put Aragorn in I am turned into a fine pulp, because I do not stand a chance. When it comes to all the Lord of the Rings characters, Aragorn is presented as one of the most capable out of all of them. I mean, look, this guy's 80, and look how great he looks. I mean, Viggo Mortensen is quite a fella. I gotta give him that. He is holding a sword in this picture, which does bring me to my next point, which is that no weapons are being used in this contest, because that would just straight up be unfair. This is hand-to-hand combat in its finest, you know, the truest test of who the strongest fighter is, you know? And naturally, there also won't be any armor used in this contest, because that would be wildly unfair. I know people like Éomer right here, good old Billy Butcher. Oi, Homeland has got me bloody son. Billy Butcher right here, have armor on in the picture. Not how it works, no armor. So, that, you know, that evens the playing field a little bit. Next up is Denethor. Denethor, I think, is actually a coin flip, because the Denethor we see is a disgusting pig slobbering all over tomatoes and eating chicken as Pippin sings and his son dies in battle. I mean, the Denethor we see is not exactly the most physically capable guy in the world, from what I can tell. I am gonna have to put him in I barely win, because I think he's probably the same height as me. He doesn't look very strong. He looks very pampered. I think I beat Denethor. I think I take him in a fight with no armor and no weapons. Elrond. Elrond, here's what's tough. I do not think there's a single elf on this list that I could beat, because all the elves, okay, this brings me to the next question. Do the people who have powers on this list still have powers? Can they use those powers? Because on one hand, that's their character. That's who they are. They can still, like, you know, that is part of them as a character. On the other hand, I'm just a freaking 38-year-old Jack guy who's built like Hercules, 5'10", the best to ever do it. I mean, come on. But I don't have magic, so is it really fair for them to have magic and me to not? Here's the real question. I think if they didn't have magic, or whatever abilities they have, they would not be the characters we see on this list. So if Elrond and the rest of the elves didn't have their special little agility and, you know, the way they control water, I think they would not be the elves that we see today. So because of that, I think I have to give the elves their magic. I'm gonna put Elrond, and I am turned into a fine pulp very easily. Éomer, Carl Urban, or as he's best known, Billy Butcher. Homeland has got me bloody son. I gotta put Éomer. I mean, he beats me, I think. He's a strong warrior. I don't have his chance, but he doesn't turn me into a fine pulp. He clobbers me. I'm putting him in they clobber me. Éowyn, now look, Éowyn is shown to be a good fighter in her own time. She, you know, obviously the Witch King of Agamar. She takes him on and she stabs him in the face. I mean, all credit to her. Biologically, she is at a disadvantage just physically, because she doesn't have a sword, she doesn't have armor, it's just her. And I think, in the most respectful way possible, I could take on what looks to be 35-year-old woman in a fight. I really do. In the most respectful way possible. I would hope that would never come to that. I hope Éowyn and I would be great friends. I really do. But should it come to that, I think it would be a light work, no reaction. She would be harder than Pippin. I think Pippin would be a lot less of a challenge than Éowyn, so take that as you will, but she's definitely light work, no reaction. Faramir, I put in they clobber me. He in my opinion, is on the same level as Billy Butcher, and actually, the more I'm looking at this, the more I'm kind of thinking to myself and noticing that I kind of have to put Aragorn on they clobber me. I can't leave him in I am turned to a fine pulp, because what happens when I get to Sauron down here? Sauron down here, I think we all know, is not going anywhere lower than I am turned into a fine pulp. I mean, come on. It's Sauron, the Dark Lord. What the frick am I gonna do? I hate to be this guy, but let's just go look at a brief scene and see what Sauron's really capable of, even without his powers. Holy cow. Even without his magic. I don't think I can play too much more for copyright reasons, but even without his magic, Sauron is like 7 feet tall. Actually, let's just watch this really quick. 7 feet tall, and he's swiping with a huge mace and just absolutely obliterating these fine soldiers. Yeah, I cannot put Aragorn on the same level as that, because that guy will literally turn me into a fine pulp. Not metaphorically, not in some metaphysical sense. I will be a paste on the floor when Sauron's done with me. So because of that, I really do think that I gotta put Sauron and I'm turned into a fine pulp, obviously, but I gotta put Aragorn and they clobber me. It's the only logical thing to do, and it's the only thing that makes sense. However, don't take that as Aragorn's a bad warrior. I'll put him to the front of they clobber me. I think that is very fair, is it not? Arwen. What are we gonna do with you? Now, Arwen is definitely far above Éowyn, despite the fact that they're the only two they're the only two women on this list. Oh no, Galadriel. Let's go, women. Yes, Galadriel. Bringing the line together. 3 women on the Lord of the Rings tier list. That is what we like to see. Yes, keep it going. Arwen, I think I'm gonna put in. I gotta put it right next to Elrond. If I put Elrond up here, I'm turned to a fine pulp. I don't see her in the movies or the books having that many powers, but she's an elf, so I know that deep down she's got to have some form of strength down there that I just don't know about that all elves have. I mean, that's just how it has to be, I feel like. I'm just dumb for not knowing it, but it's definitely got to be there. So I am turned into a fine pulp. It's very fair, I think. The ring bearer, Frodo. Now, where should we put Frodo? I honestly, maybe this is a little disrespectful to Pippin, but I think Frodo would be a harder challenge than Pippin, just because for what we've seen, he has more experience in combat and he fights more. Pippin has fought like 3 orcs ever, has a kill rate of like 2 maybe, and has been kidnapped on multiple occasions by guys that he has a sword against. So I feel like Frodo, I put 1 tier above. I put him next to Éowyn. I think that's pretty fair on my part, honestly. Boromir is in the category of all the big, strong warriors that we see throughout the movies who always fight in the battles and always go and clobber dozens of orcs before they're finally taken down. In Boromir's case, literally. And it literally took, where is he? This guy right here. This Uruk-hai, I don't know his name. I don't know if he has a name in the movies or the books, but I gotta put this Uruk-hai and they clobber me. I saw his fight with Aragorn. I mean, man, that guy had some moves. With the knife throw, which, by the way, fun fact, the knife throw, as you might know, where this orc threw a knife at Aragorn, Viggo Mortensen, he was meant to miss. He was meant to hit the tree to Viggo's left, but he threw it right at Viggo because he couldn't see too well with the makeup. And Viggo, like the absolute legend he is, straight up deflects the dagger. I mean, the dagger's flying at his face like this. He, through pure reflex, hits it out of the way. I mean, come on, I could do that. I mean, light work, am I right? I could do that too, but like it was kind of cool. Not that I couldn't do it, but it was I'm just kidding, I would have been cooked. But it was sick when Viggo did it. I gotta give him credit for that. Next up, it's the subscribe button. Wow, it's another Jedwerd video. It wouldn't be a Jedwerd video if the subscribe button wasn't on the tier list. I'm gonna put the subscribe button. You know what? I feel bad for Pippin. I'm gonna put it with I obliterate them because you should obliterate that subscribe button. Alright, let's go back to the tier list before someone I know sees that. Next up is this scumsucker, and I do not know who this is. I'd be surprised if you know his name, so, I mean, hey, if you do, credit to you, put it in the comments. But this guy looks like your generic run-of-the-mill soldier. He looks a little less accomplished than all these fine folk, and again, we don't have any weapons or armor, so in a hand-to-hand combat, I do think he does better than me. But not by too much. I think this is a he barely wins. I think if there was a tier between they barely win and they clobber me, I'd put him there, but there's not. So I'm gonna err on the side of I feel good about my chances and put him in they barely win. Gandalf the Grey. Not even a question. Gandalf would clobber me. He'd turn me into a fine pulp. He's got some ancient magic working up in there. I think he would absolutely clobber me. Next up, we have Galadriel and Celeborn. Celeborn, if you don't know, is Galadriel's husband, I think. He's the counterpart. He's not in very much the books or the movies, but he is up there. And let's actually go see if he's as powerful as Galadriel, because I have no idea. Who is more powerful, Galadriel or Celeborn? Celeborn? Dang. Galadriel and Celeborn are both elves, and as elves, I feel I rightfully should put them in the I am turned into a fine pulp. Because here, at the very least, I feel like elves have superhuman strength. They have to, and that alone is enough of a separation to where, you know, Billy Butcher could not do as badly to me as they could because of their super strength. You know, I feel like that's a very fair estimation. I feel like putting elves up there in general is a fair thing to do. Gimli, I think I put in they clobber me. I think he's not magical, obviously. He doesn't have weapons, doesn't have armor, but he's still probably he looks fat as frick. Probably a 250-pound dwarf. I don't have a chance against that. I mean, yeah, he's shorter than me, but like, coming up next on the list, we have Gollum. And Gollum is actually a tough one. Gollum is one of the most challenging ones I've had to think about yet. Because here's the thing about Gollum. From appearances, Gollum looks like a total lightweight. He looks like I can mangle him with ease. It looks like I could hold him by his arms like this and rip them off, and he'd be left stranded there with no arms. It looks like I could do that. However, we know from the movies that this guy's freaking strong. This guy is very wily, and he's resourceful. Remember when Sam in the Return of the King had the rock, and he hucked it at Gollum's head, and it hits Gollum head on, right here in the cranium. Gollum goes flying and gets back up 2 seconds later. Like, that is a crazy blow to take and get back up from. So I gotta put Gollum, honestly. I feel like it's a toss-up, because here's the thing. I don't have their ring. when the ring, Gollum's precious, is involved, he gets like superhuman abilities. He becomes a total maniac. He's like when guys do cocaine and could take 8 bullets before they're finally subdued by the cops, you know? He's in that same boat. However, I don't have the ring. I don't have the ring, which is honestly kind of a benefit for me because he's not fighting for anything. He's just fighting for himself with no ring involved. So, because of that, I honestly think that this is a total coin flip. And you know what, boys? Let's play it that way. With our founding father's head on it. Good old JW. GW. Oh, that's embarrassing. GW, George Washington. Heads, I put Gollum in they barely win. Tails, I put him in I barely win. It is heads, which means unfortunately, I gotta take the fat L on this one, and Gollum's going in they barely win. Congratulations, big fella. Next up, we have Harvey Orkstein, and I say that because if you don't know, Peter Jackson designed this orc to look exactly like Harvey Weinstein. I know. Brilliant, brilliant, because at the time, I'm fairly certain Harvey Weinstein was not outed for being the absolute creepy predator that he is. And instead, Peter Jackson just didn't like him because what's his name? Harvey Weinstein wanted to make Lord of the Rings 2 movies and then eventually won and was trying to restrict Peter Jackson's freedom. So Peter Jackson went to a different studio, got someone else to make the movie, and then put Harvey Weinstein in the movie as the most ugly looking orc I've ever seen. Although, to be fair, the similarities are striking. It's actually unbelievable how close they look, even though this guy's a literal orc. But, as it is, he is an orc, he is a commanding orc, and he is a big fella. I gotta put him right next to the Uruk-hai over here. These two matches made in heaven right here. They clobber me for sure. This is not Thranduil. I really am so tempted to call him Thranduil because I feel like he is, but I know deep down in his heart of hearts that he is not Thranduil. I know he's that random elf who showed up at the Battle of Helm's Deep and got killed in the battle. I cannot for the life of me remember his name. However, he is an elf, and because of that, we all know where he's going. He's got something up there that's gonna allow him to beat me in combat. I don't know what it is, but he's got something. You know, boys, something isn't sitting right with me up here. I feel like I'm greatly misinterpreting what elves are and what they can do. So I'm gonna place a call to one of my good friends who knows more about Lord of the Rings than anyone else I know. Now, I'm gonna have to try, his name's Jude. I'm gonna have to try to get him to summarize it quick because he likes to talk a lot. So I'll try to get it out of him pretty fast. Let's hope he picks up, though. It'd be really embarrassing if he doesn't pick up. And if he doesn't pick up, I'll probably edit it out of the video just so I can kind of, you know.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice message.
Didn't want to talk to Jude anyway. Screw Jude, honestly. Anyway. Well, we'll assume they're in a fine pulp, and I'm sure someone in the comments is going to yell at me if I'm wrong. So, let's just move on. And now we're on Isildur. Isildur is one of those warriors that's going up here. I mean, this guy took on Sauron and won. So, I'm putting him in they clobber me. He very well deserves to be up there. Ah, Theoden King. Theoden. Rest in peace, Bernard, whatever your name is. You really characterized one of the greats. Now, here's the thing. Here, maybe it's a little unpopular of an opinion. I'm putting Theoden up there with I barely win. Because I think that he, with a sword on horseback and armor, probably would beat me. But if we were in our street clothes like this, he's facing a 38-year-old, 5'10", built like Hercules man with muscles arms the size of tree trunks. I mean, come on. It's not even a contest. And he's just an old guy. All credit to him, but he's just an old guy. I'm putting him in I barely win because I think he would put up a good fight. He has a lot of experience, but, you know, age takes its toll, as we all know. Legolas, oh, here's the thing, boys. Frick, I don't know. I feel like I made a huge mistake with the elf thing. I feel like Legolas is kind of more normal than the rest of them. Am I crazy for putting him in they clobber me? I feel like whatever elf magic they have that sets them apart, he doesn't have. Is that insane? I feel like that's a very fair thing to say. Oh, but here's the thing. None of these guys took out a whole Oliphant just by themselves by swinging up on their horn and wrecking havoc over the back of it. You know what? For consistency's sake and for the fact that I do remember him doing some pretty superhuman things, I am going to put Legolas up here next to not Thranduil. I'm going to put him up there with I am turned into a fine pole, but I think that's pretty reasonable. Next up is this guy. This guy, he's in the exact same category as this guy over here. He's a soldier. So I'm going to put him here because I do not remember his name or anything about him. I don't even remember where he's from. Like this guy, I remember he was in the scene with the Warriors where Aragorn gets taken off the cliff. This guy, not a thing. Bada boosh, bada bing, it's gone. I don't know anything about him. So I'm putting him up there and they barely win. Ah, Meriadoc Brandybuck. Now, Meriadoc, honestly, would it be disrespectful? Would it be too disrespectful to Pippin to put him above Pippin? I think this would be an argument between them for a lifetime if they ever found out about this, but some instinct is telling me that Merry would be a harder person to fight than Pippin. I don't know why, but realistically, I feel like they're probably pretty even. You know what? You know what, Pippin? Let's give you some company. Let's give you some company down here. Have fun, you two. Bilbo Baggins. It's good to see you, my old friend. You know what's crazy? Is that I actually have Bilbo's sword right here. This, my friends, is Sting. Glows blue when orcs and goblins are nearby. You know what you are? An old man, an old hobbit at the end of his life, 111 years old in this picture. So, because of that, you're going there with Meriadoc and Pippin. Samwise Gamgee. You know, Sam, I genuinely think I put in I barely win. Because here's the thing. Sam, out of all the hobbits, is undeniably the hardest to fight. He would definitely put up the biggest threat because he's bigger. He's a little more competent when it comes to battle. We're shown throughout the movie. So, I really feel like Sam would be a harder challenge. However, at the end of the day, what you gotta remember, he's still a freaking hobbit. And hobbits, for all their fine qualities and their love of good food, good drink, and good company, are still hobbits at the end of the day. I mean, come on, they're small, they don't get taller. I wonder what the tallest hobbit was. I know Bilbo's grandfather, let's look this up right now, 4 feet 5 inches tall. Holy cow. So I was wrong about all of them. I thought they were 4'11". They're like 3'11". That was Pippin's height was 3 feet 11. Let me make sure really fast. How tall was Pettigrew Took? 4'1". Holy cow. Pippin he's actually so short. See, this is what I mean. You never even think about them being that short because in the movies, they don't feel that short a lot of the time. These guys, I could kick him and he would go flying like a football. I could punch him like I am Tom Brady and it is Super Bowl Sunday and he would genuinely disappear into the horizon. He'd be like Team Rocket in Pokemon where we see them kind of twinkle out into the sun, into the horizon because they're so far away from how freaking far I'd kick him. Yeah, Sam, I'm sorry, buddy. I barely win. Honestly, I feel like I put him in light work, no reaction. It'd be so easy to beat him if he was actually freaking 4'1" or whatever. Saruman the White. Saruman gets the Gandalf treatment. He would obliterate me. I'm turned into a fine pulp. I don't know what he's got up his sleeve. All I know is I'm not gonna like it, so he's going up there. Grima Wormtongue is up next. Now look, Grima Wormtongue, I would like to say I could really easily beat. I think I put him in light work, no reaction, and here's why. Because Grima Wormtongue, on top of being a totally slimy, disgusting piece of garbage, at the end of The Return of the King, the part that we don't see in the movies, during the Scouring of the Shire, which any of you people who've read the books and are therefore true fans will know, Grima Wormtongue is literally a dog. For all intents and purposes, he is literally just a mutt on all fours, crawling around at Saruman's feet, walking around behind him, until finally he gets mad and stabs Saruman in the back. He's literally the lowest of the low. It is actually impressive how far he falls. I mean, genuinely, the haters said he couldn't do it, and the haters were right. Honestly, great call by the haters. Finally, and last but not least, we have the Witch King. And the Witch King, I think, very easily goes into I am turned into a fine pulp. This is like a primordial being. I do not stand a chance. And this, boys, is the list. This is all the Lord of the Rings characters I could beat in a fight, whether or not I win or lose. And if you like this video, check out this one right here, where I did this exact same video, but with Star Wars characters. I think you'll really like it. I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe. Catch you later, boys. See you later. Bye.